What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about Canada's grocery prices, which are apparently a huge problem. Now, I'm sure Canadians are already painfully aware of this since you are literally living it right now, but as an American, I have to admit this is really the first time I am learning about this. Honestly, I don't think this issue has received any media attention in America. So I have a lot of questions about this that I'd like to have answered. You know, when I hear about Canada having high grocery price problems, does that have to do with just general inflation? Like most countries in the world right now are dealing with high inflation and trying to solve that. Does that have something to do with Canada's high grocery prices? Or why is it groceries specifically? That kind of baffles me a little bit. So I'll share with you this. Here in America, we have a way of determining if our groceries are overpriced, if they have risen in price, what inflation has done to our economy. And it's by checking the price of a 2-liter of Coca-Cola. You just look at the Coke prices. Now, you used to get a 2-liter of Coke for 99 cents. Oh, when I was a little kid, I'd walk through the snow down to the Walmart and get a 2-liter for 99 cents. And now it's $1.78. It's $1.78, and it actually says it's on sale. Oh, those crooks. Saying it's $2.68. Oh, like I'm getting a bargain. Okay, whatever. I imagine this is the same kind of headache that Canadians are dealing with. So normally, you know, when we're talking about $1 here, $2 there, doesn't sound like it would actually matter that much to most people, but I've heard some really troubling statistics on in the United States. You know, over 50% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings account in case of an emergency. Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I was trying to look this up in Canada. Is Canada in a similar situation? And I found this article. It's from 2022. It's about a year old, but it reported that more than half of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. So when the price of food goes up, even by a little bit, it makes a massive impact. Food is kind of important for survival. And there was another stat here. More than 2/3 of young Canadians, 18 to 24, have no retirement savings. None. So when the price of goods goes up and inflation is out of control, it really hurts a lot of people, even if it seems like, you know, the price of ketchup chips have only gone up by $1. When you multiply that across the entire store of food and months and years of buying food, it's a lot, especially for people who are in a tough financial situation. So I was looking this up, some articles, typing into Google, basically, you know, my really deep cutting research, typed it into Google, Canada grocery prices. Articles do pop up immediately, confirming Canada's inflation rate is falling. Why are groceries so expensive? Oh, so it does not have to do with inflation. Well, there you go. Okay, Canada's inflation is starting to fall, very similar to the United States as well. But grocery prices are still high? What causes that? Huh. We have other headlines. High food prices amid easing inflation has consumers questioning pricing power at grocery chains. We have more. Canadian gets real about grocery prices. Sparks debate on cost of living. Yeah, turns out people get pretty passionate about, you know, those necessities required for living becoming more expensive, especially if it's not due to high inflation. I'm not sure what this is all about, so I'm extra intrigued to learn about Canada's grocery price problem. And this video in particular we're about to watch is also going to talk about the Competition Bureau's plan to fix this, or I guess it's good that, I don't know, the Canadian government or whoever the Competition Bureau is talking about solutions. But let's learn a little more about this.
We have a grocery prices problem in Canada.
Okay.
Maybe you already knew that.
No.
My bill just keeps going up. It doesn't matter how much I try to cut back. It's constantly going up.
Yeah.
And I just don't even know what to do about it.
They're
Yeah.
ripping us off like they're ripping you off.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're all in cahoots.
3 big players dominate most of the market. We pay ever-increasing amounts.
What? Wait, what? What? Wait. I don't know much about Canadian grocery stores or Canadian markets so this is actually news to me. This seems pretty important. There's 3 grocery stores?
Cahoots.
3 big players dominate most of the market.
3 big players, excuse me. Sobeys? I'm gonna butcher these names. Metro Plus, and Loblaws. Okay. Well, is that part of the issue? That Canada is just like the marketplace is dominated by only 3 manufacturers or providers, and they get to control the prices? This is reminding me of I did a video a while back on Canadian cell phone prices. Canadian cell phone plans are sky-high prices in Canada. And I was like, that's random. Turns out it's because there's not enough competition, not enough cell phone companies in Canada, providers. This is exactly the same. Canada, we need more Canadian companies out there, I guess. What? Or, it can also be a problem because the big guys can acquire all of the little companies, all the parent companies can scoop everything up. So it doesn't even matter if there's a lot of companies. Is that kind of situation going on here?
Big players dominate most of the market. We pay ever-increasing amounts for our everyday essentials, and grocery store profits are at record levels.
Grocery store profits are at record level. Thank goodness. Woohoo! Very good news for the grocery store CEOs, but kind of bad news for all the Canadians. Because, again, we're not talking about the price of luxury items. This is stuff that's important. It's essential for your survival. It's kind of like when Americans get real passionate about the price of our healthcare. You need healthcare to survive, so the price really matters. This is food. It's food. You need it.
Grocery chain profits are not the reason for food inflation. And as I mentioned...
Profit is too much profit.
Well, so a company needs some degree of profit.
Record profits more than you've ever made,
Mr. Singh, I'm going to stop you there.
So
This is interesting because it is getting into a little bit of capitalism here. Is this a political issue in Canada? Or are there Canadians who are like real capitalistic and are like, well, the company sells you goods and they control the price. It's a free market. Or there's Canadians who are like, no, we're literally starving to death out here. None of that matters.
Record profits more than you've ever made.
Mr. Singh, I'm going to stop you there.
So the Competition Bureau of Canada has just issued a direct challenge to government. It was actually just this 50-page report, but let's call it
The Competition Bureau. So it's an independent agency that had to submit this issue to the Canadian government and say, hey, hello, there is not enough competition going on here, and it's a problem.
a challenge. The Bureau says, we have a problem, we think a lack of competition is behind it, and there are some key ways government can start to fix it.
Okay.
So here's what we're gonna do. I went through this thing so you don't have to. I'm going to explain why they think the big grocery chains have gotten too big for anyone's good,
okay,
and what they propose as possible solutions.
Yeah. It's typically, especially this might be the American in me, but if you're going to have the government stepping in and controlling aspects of your life or controlling what businesses can or can't do, you want it to be for pretty good reasons when that has to happen. And this absolutely, I think, falls under that category of a good reason, if I'm interpreting the facts here correctly.
First, let's pour one out for all of this country's fallen grocers, assimilated, like the Borg. In 1986, there used to be 8 major grocery chains, all owned by different companies. But
this is what I need to know. there were 8 grocery chains as recently as 1986 in Canada. I've never heard of any of these, except IGA. Okay, all right, a little familiarity.
But Steinberg's was sold to A&P, Metro, Provigo, and IGA. Then Provigo was eaten up by Loblaws.
Yep.
IGA went to Loblaws and Sobeys.
Yep.
A&P
This is how it happens. This is how it goes.
was gobbled up by Metro, and Safeway was absorbed into Sobeys.
All right, Sobeys, Metro, and Loblaws. It went from 8 to 3.
During that time, we did see the arrival of Walmart and Costco, but
Hey, Walmart! Woohoo! I don't know why I'm rooting for Walmart. They basically have a monopoly on all grocery stores in the United States. But at least they are super, super cheap. But that's for another time.
but they do a lot more than just groceries, and there are many fewer of them than there are of the big 3.
Okay.
Only about 500 stores between them, compared to each of the other big chains, which have more than 1,000 stores each.
Oh, that's fascinating. See, I'm learning something about Canadian grocery stores today. Walmart dominates the United States. Dominates it. Somehow, people don't really complain about that. And it's like they might as well have a monopoly, but I guess they keep their prices so dirt cheap. No one really cares that they're everywhere. In contrast to what's going on in Canada, where it's Loblaws, Sobeys, and Metro, they're the predominant grocery chain in Canada. Okay. And what, are they, like, in cahoots? Are they conspiring together to raise grocery prices? Because one of these 3 grocery store chains could just, like, lower their prices and everyone would go there, right? Is it that they're working together?
Those 5 control over 80% of the Canadian grocery business.
Yeah.
And so that's a significant stake. What we need to do is step back and say, why has that consolidation happened?
But 5 still isn't bad, right? Well, the amount of concentration in this country's grocery industry is still pretty mind-blowing. Because Loblaws, Sobeys, and Metro, maybe you shop at one of the big 3, but Loblaws owns No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, Shoppers, Provigo, Maxi.
It just keeps going. Oh my gosh, this is what I was thinking could have happened. This is literally what it is. 3 parent companies own all of the other companies.
The list goes on. Sobeys owns Safeway, IGA, Freshco, Foodland, Longo's, Farm Boy, and Metro owns Super C, Food Basics, Adonis, Marché Richelieu.
Yeah, it's like, at first glance, you would actually assume there's plenty of competition in Canada for grocery stores. But you have to know that they're all owned by the same people.
Long story short, even if you don't shop specifically at Loblaws, Sobeys, or Metro, you kind of probably do.
Right.
As you saw, even the discount grocers, the ones you go to if you think Loblaws is too expensive, those are still owned by the big chains.
Wow. Wow.
Here's how food prices have changed over the last couple of years.
Okay.
The year-over-year change gradually increasing from about 4% to around 10%. We've all felt this at the grocery store, right?
10%. Wait a minute. This is actually the stuff that I kind of want to know, because since I don't live in Canada, I haven't experienced firsthand the effect of the change or how significant the price increases have been for Canadian grocery stores. So I do need to get caught up on that a little bit. Food purchased from stores, change in food price. Has it really gone up 10% in only a year?
But then look at the rate of general inflation. So the year-over-year change in the price of everything, not just food, that's quite a lot lower.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's important to note as well. Sure, like, with inflation going up, the price of everything is gonna go up, and everyone pretty much has to accept that. But the amount that the price of grocery store items has gone up doesn't match inflation. Inflation is starting to come back down in Canada, and grocery store prices are still sky high, 10% up from last year or some part of 2022.
Not just food, that's quite a lot lower, telling us food prices have gone up disproportionately high.
Yes.
Now, yes, there could be lots of reasons for this. The
Could
war
there?
in Ukraine, pandemic, supply chain shenanigans.
Okay.
Extreme weather events have been a significant contributor to food price inflation, not just in North America. If you look at rain in the Salinas Valley, we saw tomatoes and lettuce get really expensive in January and February.
Sorry, but it's funny to me to think about, hey, I haven't noticed the price of lettuce and tomatoes going up. It's because I am not nearly that healthy. I don't buy lettuce and tomatoes, so I haven't noticed the price gone up. Oh boy, that says more about me than about the prices.
Because that's where we get it.
But it's also true that in a system where there's less competition, prices generally go up. And consider, last year, the three largest grocers, Loblaws, Sobeys, and Metro, combined had more than $100 billion in food sales.
Okay.
$3.6 billion of that profit. Loblaws
Okay.
alone has increased its profits by around $2 billion in the last couple of years.
Okay, I was going to say, it doesn't really matter to me how much these companies are making. It matters to me how much more they are making since last year. How much more has it increased? Because yes, the companies have to make... No one is arguing that a company needs to make a profit to exist. To be able to sell you the food, that's good and all. But this is about how much it has skyrocketed in such a short amount of time.
And according to the Competition Bureau, we saw Canada's largest grocers' food gross margins generally increase by a modest yet meaningful amount over the last 5 years.
Okay.
Generally, they say between 1% and 2%, which
Okay.
maybe doesn't sound like much, but grocers make all of their money on volume. Even if they only make an extra $1 or $2 on each grocery purchase, if you make that billions of times, then you're probably looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And the
Well, has it been like 1 or 2% year over year, every year? So it's increased quite significantly over the course of 5 years, say. Maybe not every year.
Competition Bureau says this is a long-term trend that predates the pandemic, predates the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
And the fact that Canada's largest grocers have generally been able to increase these margins, however modestly, is a sign there is room for more competition
Yes.
in Canada's grocery industry.
It's easier said than done. Like, yeah, there's room for competition, but just like why there's no new Canadian cell phone providers, even though there's room for competition, the resources you need to build an entire new grocery chain, and then what? Plant 1,000 of those stores around Canada to try to compete with the big three? Like that, even though it's technically possible, it might as well not be.
So here's the problem. The Competition Bureau says it's too hard for small players to break into a market already dominated by so few.
Yeah.
For starters, yeah, it's just daunting to go up against these grocery behemoths.
Being an independent retailer in the food business in Canada is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I
right?
bet.
You don't have the same distribution infrastructure. You're not buying as effectively as many others. In fact, some of these small independent retailers actually buy from the large grocery chains and their distribution centers as a way of supplying.
Yeah, and it's also kind of ironic that maybe at some point there was an attempt for smaller grocery chains to exist and to grow and to be a part of this competition, but they were all purchased by these big three companies anyway. They were all bought out when some people made an attempt to do this, to add competition. They were just bought out or smothered or whatever.
So it is difficult to be price competitive.
But also think about the challenges in a country like Canada. You know, it's a huge land area to cover, so
Yeah.
you need a massive footprint to be effective.
Yeah.
Remember how Target tried to break in, opening like 130 stores across the country.
Really?
That crashed and burned.
Oh, I didn't know Target tried to be big in Canada. Target is very successful in the United States. It tried to become big in Canada and failed. I mean, if Target is partly a grocery store, actually. If Target couldn't make it, how is anyone else supposed to try to do this?
Another point made in the report. Canada is very multicultural, and one of the barriers to entry is having a multicultural food offering to be competitive.
Yeah.
You also have labeling laws in Canada requiring English and French.
Yeah.
And considering how many Canadians prefer the supermarket experience as opposed to shopping in lots of little shops, and how most of us probably wouldn't walk or drive more than 15 minutes to do our shopping. This isn't an easy business to get into.
Yeah, those are good. Those are really good points. That I never even thought. I already figured it was impossible, but there's all sorts of reasons why it's basically impossible for a new player to try to challenge the current big three Canadian grocery chains. How to stoke competition. Okay, so is there any thoughts on how to fix this? Is there any hope? Any hope on changing this?
You can boil the Competition Bureau's recommendations down to two main ideas.
Okay.
And I'll warn you now, they're ideas, not really action plans.
By the sound of this, because we've kind of talked about how impossible it would be to organically have a competition rise up that is substantial enough to bring prices down for all of Canada because of natural competition, it seems like something unnatural would have to occur, and by that I mean some kind of government regulation or oversight on this.
One, government should encourage new, independent, and international entrants to set up shop in Canada.
Okay.
To which you might reply, like, wow, it took how long and how many pages to arrive at that genius idea? But they say, hold on, the government has tools, right? They could remove regulatory red tape. They could provide financial incentives and support, and maybe even encourage more online entrance into the marketplace.
So the Canadian government would try to help more competitors survive and rise up and become popular enough to compete as new grocery stores? Is that actually sustainable enough? At that point, I don't know, maybe the Canadian government should just open a branch of grocery stores. Heck, why not?
But here's the other big suggestion from the Competition Bureau. It's called harmonized unit pricing. So we know what unit prices are, right? Most grocery stores already do this, where you see a jug of orange juice costs $7, and then you see the unit price, whatever it costs per 100 mils, so you can more easily compare, say, a big jug to a small jug, and then see what's the better deal.
Yes.
Well, what if there was a uniform way to do this for all things, across many similar products, across many different stores? So, by law, a customer should easily be able to compare a jug of orange juice to a bunch of these, juice boxes to a can of frozen juice.
I'm not exactly sure what he's getting at yet, but is this some kind of way to standardize the price of everything across all Canadian grocery stores?
But then, imagine if that data was harmonized across all grocers in all provinces. You could even just compare prices online. Just type orange juice into the search engine and bam, you see what every major chain is selling juice for, rather than having to do the heavy lifting of comparison shopping yourself.
Okay.
There are...
I don't know if just being able to look up prices is enough, even if the tiny little mom and pop grocery store down across the city has a cheaper box of orange juice. I think just out of convenience, if you're at a massive grocery store, you're probably going to get all your stuff from that store, even if the prices aren't totally competitive with everything out there. It's just more convenient to get everything in one spot, even if you knew there was something cheaper out there.
Already ways to do something like this, but being able to compare on such a granular level across a wide swath of stores with detailed unit pricing, that's where the Competition Bureau says there's room for improvement. And maybe...
I don't know about this. Yeah, okay, so you would learn more about more competitively cheaper priced goods available in other stores. more competition would become apparent to you, more options. But I still think, or maybe this is just like my American thinking, we're pretty lazy. We're creatures of convenience. If I go to Walmart, I'm already there. So I'm just going to grab everything I need right there at the Walmart if they have it. Even if I can get like a can of peas 50 cents cheaper at another grocery store, I'm going to be like, no, I got other things to do, you know.
That would help bring prices down by having grocers really have to fight for your dollar. But as I said, this is a plan thin on any actual plan. Like most things, it's a start. But the sooner Canadians realize there's a problem, and one that maybe can be fixed, maybe the better off we'll all be.
Oh boy. Oh boy, that is not the ending that I was hoping for, honestly. That was by CBC News. That was very good. Very good segment. Taught me basically everything I wanted to know about this issue.
Ukraine.
Oh, whoopsie. Basically taught me everything I was hoping to learn about this. The sad thing is, by the end of this, and how old is this report? A month old? Like, this is relatively current. Sounds like there's a couple of ideas. The Competition Bureau has submitted a formal complaint to the Canadian government, but aside from that, nothing has really been done to combat this problem. I don't know. I guess it really will take the Canadian people getting, I don't know, irritated and upset enough about this, and, I don't know, forcing your elected officials to do something about it. Otherwise, I don't see why competition is just going to spring up out of nowhere to conquer these huge, greedy corporations. Darn you, corporations. Making money again. Yeah, but this is a bit sad to me that it's kind of this huge issue that doesn't seem to have a very quick solution on the horizon. But I don't know. I'm sure I don't understand the full picture, but I just thought this was a real fascinating topic that I didn't know was going on in Canada, like currently, right now. So, yeah, it was really, really interesting to learn about. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your opinion on Canada's grocery pricing problem and the solutions or your experiences and all that. That'd be very interesting. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more videos of me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture and stuff in Canada I've never learned before. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.